Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here once again. I'm here to talk about No Man of God. And for once, the title actually kind of makes sense. I know, right? It's like, wow, the title, finally. Instead of just some random shit title like, all the other titles this year. We finally got one that makes sense because Ted Bundy is not a man of God. And so he's very scared about God and, going to hell. I guess that's why it's called that. It's a pretty good title. It could have been better, but at least it fits. If the title fits, you must give it a good review. That's not how the saying goes. So, anyways, this movie is the same thing we've already seen a million times in regards to Ted Bundy. It is just straight up, okay, here's Ted Bundy. He's a scary guy. He was really scary. He had some interesting points, though. He had some interesting points of dialogue that are interesting to listen to. And that's it. That's literally the whole movie. And I know you're asking yourself, well, Marco, why was this made? Well, I don't know. I have no idea why this was made. It was made to fulfill the yearly quota of, we have to make a movie about either Charles Manson, Ted Bundy, or Hitler, or what was the other guy? Lee Harvey Oswald, the Patsy. We got to make a movie about one of those options. And if we don't, people will forget that those people were very bad. And people will forget our propaganda of, all the years building up their myth and their names. Like, oh, Ted Bundy, he was the killer, and, he would kill this way, and, oh, he was really scary. That's all this is. It's just, him sitting in a room with this FBI profiler, and the FBI profile is, his name is like Bill Hinkmeyer or something, and he's played by Elijah Wood, and Elijah Wood, this is my first full-length movie I've seen of his. And because Lord of the Rings makes me fall asleep, honestly. Like, I've tried watching all three of those movies, the original ones, obviously, and they are just the greatest sleeping pill in the universe. Like, you watch it, and it's like, I have tried over and over again with those movies. And I've seen him on movie fights. He was actually pretty good in those. And his performance was fine. It was kind of like a theater type of performance. Like, hey, I have this special haircut, and I'm in a suit, and I'm playing a character. It wasn't really anything it wasn't anything special. Nothing in this movie was special except for one thing. Luke Kirby's performance as Ted Bundy was fantastic. It was award worthy. I'm not going to say the type of award because those awards don't matter anymore as far as I'm concerned. I would just say any award in general. This performance is the best performance of Ted Bundy so far. We started off, there was that one in the early 2000s. That performance was good. He kind of looked like Paul Rudd, is what I just thought the whole movie. Like, oh, look, it's Paul Rudd as Ted Bundy. Like, that's what I thought. And it was fine. It was fine. It was a lot better than some of the other ones that came out. Like the shitty BTK one. Ugh. Oh, God, that was terrible. And then I think there have been some other Ted Bundys over the years. Like, there was another straight-to-video one, probably. And those are probably fucking garbage. And then you had Zac Efron, the heartthrob Ted Bundy version, where basically he he demonstrated why girls were able to get into his car and be killed so easily. I mean, basically, his performance was just showing that aspect of his character, of showing, how he was so charming and such a ladies' man, and that's all that performance was. And, it was tricking, it basically made another big group of retarded teenage girls his fans again. And so that was pretty bad. And the good thing is that I don't think this movie's going to do that at all. You're not going to have girls on Twitter going like, oh my God, Ted Bundy, ooh, I could have changed him if he dated me. You're not going to get any of those bitches with this movie. It's not that type of a movie. It actually treats the subject with maturity. And treats it like, he's a bad guy. He's not your boy toy. There's no scenes where he shows his ass and they have like 3 to 5 scenes of his ass. Like, there's none of that in this movie. So that's really good. I'm so thankful that we didn't get to see more of that. And that this movie was actually Ted Bundy. And, we got to see, he had such a range to his performance, too. His performance had there were so many different parts where he played a different emotion of Ted Bundy, and he just did such a good job playing every single aspect of his character to a T. I mean, he did a perfect job, and that's about it. That's all that there is about this movie that's good. It was very poorly made in terms of the editing. Now let's talk about the editing. I just need to get out a fucking stick or something and beat these editors. Like, just go up to these editors and be like, editors, you guys have been very naughty. Bam, bam, bam. Because these editors, I am getting so sick of them, man. I am getting so sick of how they ruin movies nowadays. Because you have this movie. It's basically Mindhunters Season 3, Episode 1. It's like if the people who made Mindhunters got together and made a movie of like, this was the episode we really always wanted to make. And here it is. It's all about Ted Bundy. That's what this movie is. It's an episode of Mindhunters. Well, guess what comes with that? The color filtering. This is yet another movie where the color is sucked out of the movie. It is just completely drained of color. So the movie looks ugly and dull and lifeless and soulless. And that's not something you want to do when the movie is already as simple as a fucking movie of two guys sitting in a room talking. You want the movie to be colorful so that it can be interesting to look at and people can actually look at it and be like, wow, this is a good movie. It's colorful, it's not this ugly, dull mess. And then there's this scene near the end, and it's not a spoiler because it's real life. If you don't know, then you're probably too young to be watching this video, because basically everyone knows about Ted Bundy and everyone knows everything he said in this movie. And I will talk about some stuff that got to me at the end, some good scenes, I guess, because of the performance only. But there was one scene where Ted Bundy's like, I'm going to take you to a place I've never taken anyone before, Mr. Mindhunter. And he goes into this, like, fantasy, I guess, of, like, killing a random girl. And I guess he's just, like, explaining what it feels like when he kills them and rapes them, and, like, oh yeah, there was that one part where I bent her over, and there was that one part where I strangled her, and that was basically the scene. It was pretty funny because of how it was edited. Literally, the editor took a sentence and he just cut after every single word, so it would be like, I got her, and the car and we drove to the It was so bad. It's like, who the hell chose to edit like this? This is terrible editing. This is garbage level editing. And to top that off, they started having it so Elijah Wood was talking over Ted Bundy. This scene that's supposed to be the highlight scene of the movie, where we got my man Luke Kirby, and he's putting on this award-worthy performance. This is his highlight scene. You know, the scene that goes on his reel, as they would say. You know, when actors have their reels and they have like the little snippets of scenes. This should have been his primary scene that he has on his reel. And instead, it's I'm Ted Bundy, and we like to kill her, and I took her to the woods, man. And then Elijah Wood's like, oh no, she didn't like that, oh no, oh, she knew that this was her last moment, oh my god, yeah, she did, she did, oh yeah, and then I strangled her, and then I cut her head off. And he's like, oh, she didn't like that, oh, she didn't like that part. And he starts crying and everything. Like, it is such a terribly edited scene. And it is supposed to be the highlight scene of the movie. And it is complete shit. It is unusable at this point because of the bad editing. Because of cutting it up into little pieces. Because the editor wants to show off and say, hey, look, I can edit. See, I'm cutting it in all these places that it doesn't need to be cut, so that you guys can watch this scene and sort of like doze off of disinterest. Because there's nothing interesting in the scene if it's just cutting. You know, it's not interesting. You have to stay and let them talk. And they played music over it too, and like this bizarre background music that would just play. And this movie kind of had some elements that sort of ripped off Silence of the Lambs. Like, you could clearly tell that that's what they were trying to do. Like, you know, the main profile, Bill Mickenmeyer, he's a rookie, and so obviously Clarice Starling was a rookie. And then later on, Bill tells a story about this rat that his dad killed. And he said, the part that disturbs me was the silence of the rat not being alive. It was just the silence. It was horrible. It was horrible silence. And, you know, where does that come from? Fucking Silence of the Lambs. You know, it's in the wording. I mean, it's basically the opposite. Instead of always hearing the lamb screaming, he can't hear anything, and that's what's scary. And so, you know, there's stupid little things like that. There was really only one or two scenes that were good, and it was like near the end when Ted was talking about, you know, how is he going to talk to his mom? You know, that was really kind of sad to listen to, and I feel like if we had had more of that we could have gotten somewhere really emotional, and we could have gotten somewhere good. But instead, we don't get anything. Everything just goes so fast, and everything is so pointless. I mean, this is probably one of the most pointless movies of the year. But you know what? It wasn't as bad as other movies. Like, it was entertaining at least. Like, I can say that that's better than, like, fucking Whamming in the Window, or, sorry about that one, that just came right out of me, or some other movies, like Zack Snyder's Justice League. You know, at least it's better than that. I'll say that. Elijah Wood's performance, you know, got really bad in the end. As I said, you know, there was that highlight scene where he was like, no, don't do that, no, she doesn't like that, no, and he's crying, and it's really bad. It's really like, yeah, okay, we can see what you're doing here, you're overacting, and you're really like, it's like, did the FBI guy really sound like that in real life? Did he really sound like such a pussy? Did he really start crying like a little bitch? Listening to that, like this weird scene, like this pointless scene of like Ted's like just giving this random scenario of him killing and raping a girl, and it's like, was that a real girl? Like, what was that? Like, that just scene just happened out of nowhere, and it's like, okay, I guess that was the quote climactic scene. It wasn't very climactic. It was sort of anticlimactic. And other than that, though, it was really pointless. I mean, at this point, we need to start doing serial killer movies better. We need to start exploring the conspiratorial aspects. That's why the Zac Efron Ted Bundy movie was good, because they showed some of that stuff, like the multiple times that Ted just happened to escape from custody and escape from prison. Like, it's just fucking hilarious to read about that stuff and just, think like, I wonder how that happened. Like, and, at the end, this movie just got really, really generic. And they're talking about, like, his execution, and, it's just everything about this movie was generic. And, like, there's some murders that, we don't even know if he really committed. Like, there was one, I think it was the one in Colorado. I can't remember, because I watch these true crime videos, and I try to forget about them because they put me in a bad mood looking at them. They put me in a bad way, and so I don't want to remember them very much, except for the ones that are really interesting to me, which I won't talk about in this video, because it would be a long video talking about the videos that I've seen that are just so interesting that one particular YouTuber has made. And he made a video about like a murder that Ted Bundy really probably didn't commit, and it was this girl, and all the evidence just clearly pointed to another guy being the killer. And, like, if we had gotten a movie about that, like, just imagining, like, how interesting that could have been, and imagining, like, wow, that could have been really cool to see, like, what if, or, like, just exploring that angle, that hidden driveway, that hidden road that, we never go down. We always just go down the same road with these serial killers. That guy was really scary. He killed people, He killed people. That's basically every single serial killer thing that comes out. You know why? Because it's the stuff that has all the mainstream information on it. It has all the typical talking points, all the typical, we've heard this a million times, it doesn't have anything interesting that, kind of leads away from the main conclusions. So we can't hear about that, wink, wink. We can't hear about all these other interesting points about Ted Bundy. Not saying that he wasn't a bad person or he didn't commit any crimes. It's just saying, like, we already know that. We already know that Ted Bundy was Ted Bundy. We already know that he was this bad guy and that he killed all these women and he was a piece of shit. And he basically, he really loved all the attention that he got too. And so he was, like, making up the numbers of, like, how many women he killed when he really didn't know, and all this type of stuff. It's just, it's not interesting anymore, because we've already been through all of it over and over again. Like, we need to start going down new pathways, or we need to start looking at new killers, the ones that not many people talk about, wink, wink, because you know what? I have a certain serial killer, and all the information that I have been researching him for years now, and he is so interesting. He could probably have, like, a Godfather-style trilogy. That's how interesting he is, and how interesting his story is. And it's just sad that, instead of getting interesting stories like that we're just stuck getting the millionth Ted Bundy movie where it's like, look, guys, Ted Bundy was a scary guy. He was really scary. Okay, so down to my food rating. To give this movie something average, I would say that I'm still gonna give it a good rating. in a way, I guess. Let's go back to elementary school. For no reason other than just the food was generic and bad, pretty much. Well, at elementary school, one of the meals that they had was pretty boring and bland. And it was popcorn chicken, which would be Ted Bundy in this movie. His performance was fantastic. Popcorn chicken with smiley fries, which would be Elijah Wood, because, hey, I recognize him. He's pretty good, except he's not, kinda, at some points. And then I usually have some barbecue sauce with that. Barbecue sauce and french fries, just perfect. And then with that, I'd have a nice carton of chocolate milk. And that's usually just something you had all the time in elementary school. A lot of kids would just drink chocolate milk. They would not drink regular milk. Some of those weirdos would even drink strawberry milk, which really grosses me. Ugh. Like, I would just, looking at that when I would stand in line to pick up the milk, I was like, oh, God, I wonder who drinks that. I'm not going to fucking work with them in a project. Okay. And then, of course, for the dessert, I'd have... Usually my favorite thing was to have a Little Debbie fudge round. And so that's sort of what this is that it's a very typical grade school type of lunch. It's just very generic and just not that great, but not that bad either. It's passable. It's not really a good lunch. I mean, just listen to all the stuff I just said. Do you think that sounds like a good lunch for a child to have? Like, I know that, they're not going to eat the healthiest things all the time, but it's really like a trashy type of meal. It's no better than having fast food, in my opinion. And so that's really this movie. It's just very generic and just okay. That being said, I do think that the performance of Luke Kirby needs to be recognized, because he was that fucking curly hair guy in Halloween Resurrection. I was like, there's no way in hell. You mean the guy who had that annoying voice? And just, he was so annoying and stupid in that movie. I just wanted to punch him in the face. That stupid trash character and his little sex games with that girl. He was trash in that movie. And just to see an actor, go from Halloween Resurrection to fucking Ted Bundy and play Ted Bundy so well. I mean, near the end, I got the impression from him that he was sick and that he had a sickness, and that this, he was showing symptoms of an illness, of a mental illness. That's how I saw him at the end, because he was just so hungry and so, like, desperate that it just felt like he had something physically wrong with him. I know that obviously he was very intelligent. He knew what he was doing for the most part. But that's the impression that I got. He did just such a great job. Really, really good. So I highly recommend, renting this movie. Give this movie a rent and watch it and have fun with it. It's the same shit we've seen a million times, but hey, this performance is worth it. I end with that. This performance was worth it. So, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Comment. Tell me what you thought of No Man of God. A weird title. And then subscribe to our channel, because when I get to 200 subscribers, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to go live on Twitch for 12 days straight, and I am going to binge watch the X-Files from beginning to end for 12 days. And it is going to be torture. And I really hope that I don't get to 200 subs, wink, wink, because I don't want to be put through that torture, wink, wink. So goodbye, everybody. See you soon.